So, I feel that Mega Evolutions are a bit over the top in terms of how powerful they can be, but I really enjoy seeing Pokemon power up during the fight. With Mega Evolutions returning this year in Pokemon Legends Z Alpha, I wanted to do a challenge through a game I hadn't done involving Mega Evolutions. I would love to do this challenge with Lucario only, but since X and Y on their own are way too weighted in Lucario's favor, I wondered about something else. Could a Pokemon that suffered in previous gens actually be a top dog in a solo playthrough of Alpha Sapphire? So, with that being said, I bred up a batch of Mawile eggs in my copy of Pokemon Y, and I began the challenge for today. Can Mawile solo clear the battles in Alpha Sapphire? Some of the same rules apply in this challenge as my first challenge in Paldea with Infiltrate. Mawile is the only Pokemon I can use in combat, with one being the main Mon and a second one being used only for double battles that I cannot avoid. Mainly Tate and Liza. If I wind up having another Pokemon forced in by moves like Roar or Whirlwind, I have to spam double team until they faint. I'm also going to mention that I plan on using Mega Mawile in the important fights, such as gym leaders, Elite Four members, and fights where my opponent has a Mega Evolution. But I will try my best not to use Mega Mawile outside of these fights. There will be an exception, but we'll come across it when we get there. So as my file began in Session 1, I started out by picking up Mudkip. I don't intend to use it with the exception of being an HM servant, so this little guy is putting in the work for us once those HMs are in full supply. That being said, I still have to beat the rival May on Route 103 in order to unlock catching Pokemon, so Mudkip starts off a solo run at this point. After that, I caught 4 Pokemon to trade with Pokemon Y. I rushed through Route 102 to reach Petalburg, got the catching tutorial with Wally, and received the PSS for trading Pokemon. And as a result, was able to trade in 4 Mawile eggs from Shade, my personal file for Pokemon Y. I was hoping that at least one of the 4 of these had Hypercutter for its ability, which would make it immune to the attack drops from abilities and moves. As it turns out, 3 of the 4 had Hypercutter for the ability, which was an absolute win in my eyes. One of these 3 had a Jolly nature, so I made that one my lead in my party, switch trained up 2 levels, and then boxed up all 4 of the other Pokemon before fully leaving Petalburg, because I was not planning on using anything but one Mawile. Secretly, if I needed one for a double battle, I could always use the Relaxed Nature Mawile for a backup and just spam self-buffing moves for the rest of the fight so as not to meddle with the battle at hand. As someone who wants the best chance of clearing the game with as little difficulty as possible, I decided I'd try a little EV training to hone in on the attack and speed stats. EV training, for those uninformed on this, boils down to defeating specific Pokemon to grant effort values. These effort values are known as EVs, and every 4 EVs earned raises a Mon's stat total by 1 point when it reaches level 100. EVs are not random, but they are determined by the species of Pokemon that you defeat. So if you defeat a Zigzagoon, it will give you a Speed EV. This mechanic is not exactly too big of a deal in a regular playthrough, but if you're just shy of one-shotting the opponent or outspeeding them, it's a step that can save you an extra turn in battle or even the chance to take damage at all. You do have to be careful about this, though, because each stat can only receive a total of 252 EVs per stat, and each Pokemon can only receive a total of 510 EVs. There are ways to lower those EVs later through berries, but I need to try maxing out my attack and speed EVs as soon as possible without too many of those points falling into other stats. I'll be keeping up with the additional points between recording sessions so that I don't end up going too far into the pool of available points without needing to. In the early game, I went about trying to avoid trainers that would grant me HP, defense, special attack, or special defense EVs. This means fighting only trainers that had Zigzagoons, Wingles, Talos, Skitties, or Poochyenas, along with trying to avoid knocking out any Wurmples, Ninkadas, Merrills, or Whismers. Thankfully, the only required trainers before the first gym are actually pre-trading, so I could fight the Rich Boy and Lady on Route 114, along with the Team Aquagrunt in Petalburg Woods, and even Youngster Joey in Route 116, since his Machop grants us an attack EV. 2 quick side notes. For those who are wondering why the twins on the bridge on the upper path of Route 114 don't battle me, it's because I only have 1 Pokemon in my party, and double battles only happen when both sides have at least 2 Pokemon. Second note, I am going for a more speed-centralized Mawile instead of a defensive Mawile early on, so the bulk I would normally be building will be like completely ignored. I do change up my attack plan for EVs in the 3rd session, and began tracking HP as well. My first roadblock was in Rustboro, specifically Roxanne. Roxanne has a level 12 Geodude and a level 14 Nosepass, which both grant a defense EV. Her fight is necessary, but none of her trainers in the gym are required, making these two the only defense EVs required for this part of the run. To make it easier to challenge myself, and because I resisted all of the moves she could use against me, I decided to fight her at level 13 so that I'm not over-leveled for the first gym. As for the Roxanne fight itself, Mawile's Steel type was perfect for resisting her entire moveset. Geodude took a few hits to knock out with Bite, while 2 uses of Fake Tears drops Nosepass's special defense, making Fairy Wind do enough damage to take it down in 2 turns. Badge 1 achieved. Before heading off for Dewford, I left the Rustboro gym and ran out to Ruster's Tunnel, and fought the Team Aqua Grunt that kidnapped Mr. Briny's Wingull and stole the Devon parts. After completing this errand, I returned Mr. Briny's Wingull, took the Devon parts back to Devoncorp Scientist, and was asked to run a letter to Stevenstone in Dewford and the Devon parts to Captain Stern in Slateport. Upon exiting the building, I got a pseudo jump scare from May. There's May. Oh, please don't fight me, please don't fight me. Thank goodness, it's Ruby and Sapphire version. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Emerald Legacy in my spare time, so I forgot about the additional fight in Rustboro being an Emerald exclusive. Session 2, I decided my goal would be to not just get 1 badge, but to reach Slateport and finish the Aqua fights in the museum there. Lucky for me, I'd already cleared out the required trainers, so heading south to Mr. Briny's house just west of Petalburg was a breeze. I even rematched Rich Boy Winston on the way back. Dewford itself is not exactly as non-linear as it was in Emerald, so I do have to challenge the gym before heading into the cave to the northwest. As for Dewford Gym itself, I checked which Pokemon I'd be fighting, and Metatites offer Speed EVs, with Machops offering Attack EVs. Thankfully, the only Pokemon I'd worry about is Brawly's Makuhita, since it grants an HP EV. As for the fight itself, I failed an attempt because I didn't heal. On my second attempt, Brawly faced 4 straight turns of Fairy Wind, which won me the battle. Badge 2 bestowed. With the badge in hand, I can deliver the letter to Stephen Stone. Legitimately, this is the first time I'd seen the mural that Stephen was examining, at least in Alpha Sapphire, but it was rather cool noting the version differences here. With the letter delivered, it's time to head to Route 109, where I picked up 2 heart scales, fought both Sailors and Tuberiki, and made my way into Slateport. Fortunately for me, I remembered the order of operations, but unfortunately, I got lost. Again. Before actually doing the Team Aqua objective, I felt it was finally time to give Mawile a nickname. Considering that the species is based on a yokai known as the Futakichi Onna, don't laugh! I bestowed upon it the name Yokai-chan. After wandering for longer than 10 minutes, I finally found the ship's designer, who asked me to deliver the Devon parts to Captain Stern in the museum. Upon meeting Captain Stern, I got jumped by Team Aqua Grunts. Unfortunately, I hadn't healed since leaving Dewford! Fortunately, the final Carnivine was the one that knocked me out, so I could take the earnings from the first grunt twice, which gave me an extra 182 Pokédollars when factoring in the second museum entrance fee, and an extra round of EXP from the 2 Pokemon again when I swept through them on the second try. Archie then rambles about his noble goal to bring about the liberation of the oceans, and leads his team away. Sorry for the pirate voice, I did that throughout my playthrough, and I actually had a little fun doing that, so I wanted to carry it into the actual video. After nabbing the TM for Thief from the Straggler Grunt in the museum, I wrapped up for Session 2. For the 3rd session, I was determined to at least reach Verdant Turf Town, which would be after the 3rd gym badge in Mawile. Heading north out of Slateport, I headed up to Route 110, where May stomped me with the worst fire type in the dex. Round 2, I was able to take her down without too much trouble, but following after her, I wound up fighting not 1, but 2 unnecessary trainers. Thankfully, nothing I couldn't defeat, but I didn't want to fight too many unneeded battles before Watson's gym. Upon reaching Mawile, Wally challenged me to a fight, which was over instantly before it began. Wally's uncle gave me the HM for Rock Smash, but in order to use it, I need to beat the paralysis-infused gym in front of me. Watson's gym was infuriating for me. Paralysis is the entire gimmick of the Hoenn region's electric types, and I had to fight all trainers in here except for Battle Girl Vivian. I had to heal Yokai-chan at the Poke Center twice because I ran out of paralysis healing items. Watson himself began with paralysis and Volt Switch shenanigans. Because you're wondering, this strategy is busted. I lost on the first round, so I had to run through the gym puzzle again. Side note, while I enjoyed the puzzle itself, I do not like the fact that I had to fight every trainer except for one. I believe that if you play smart enough in the gym puzzle, you should be able to skip all of the trainers in the gym. This time, Watson's Magnemite flinched when I used Bite on turn 1, which allowed me to take it down in 2 shots. His Voltorb then switched out for Magneton, which, thanks to low accuracy on Supersonic and a few well-placed flinches, I made it through without taking any damage. As for Voltorb, when it came back in, 2 turns of Bite was enough to take it down, even with a charged up Volt Switch hitting me. Badge 3 collected. Before going out the north exit to Route 111, I decided to make the loop through Rusturf Tunnel, a viable backtracking option, and headed west to Verdanturf. Along the way, Route 117 led to a small alcove just south of town, which gave me the most important item in the late game, the coveted Mawile. Booyah! Now, we can't Mega Evolve Mawile until we get the 5th badge, so I went ahead, smashed the rocks, and received an Aggronite from the trapped guy in Rusturf Tunnel, and then headed back to Mawile, exiting north to Route 111, and the trek to Fall Arbor Town. Prior to heading that way, though, I was reminded of a specific feature that would have saved me so much time. Super Training. For those who don't know, Super Training allows players to train up their EVs by completing challenges against balloons in this sort of Colosseum. Upon completing these minigames, your Pokemon is awarded EVs for a certain stat, along with earning a punching bag that can give EVs for the same stat at a set amount. Thankfully for me, I could max out my attack here and help ease my tracking of EVs from here on out. Unfortunately, I would still have to track HP and speed as well as the other 3 stats just to make sure that I don't go above the maximum total EVs. Once that was finished, Route 111 began. From here to Fall Arbor Town, there weren't too many required trainers. Across the 19 total trainers along the pathway from Mawile to Fall Arbor, I fought 5 trainers. Picnicker Irene and Backpacker Emery on Route 111 and Camper Larry on Route 112 were all optional, while Ace Trainer Wilton on the upper end of Route 111 and Youngster Neil on Route 113 were required. Since I was skipping trainers, I felt like I was learning what battles were needed and which ones were not. Fall Arbor was merely a pit stop, as Team Aqua had abducted Professor Cosmo and taken him to Meteor Falls. En route to them, only Pokemaniac Steve was required, meaning that from Watson to Flannery so far, and counting future fights with Team Aqua, only 10 of the 37 looked to be required battles. Speaking of Team Aqua, that's where I began Session 4, with a double battle against Aqua admin Shelly and her loyal Grunt. Luckily for me, May was a partner in this double battle, so the focus of this fight was on Mawile itself. Quickly moving from Meteor Falls to Fall Arbor, then to Mawile, it didn't take too long to get back up to Route 112, where the cable car was ready to transport passengers again. Upon reaching the summit and fighting Shelly, I realized I was really low on healing items, so I headed back to the cable car and bought some drinks at the bottom of the mountain. The fresh water healed Mawile to max health, while my soda pops helped heal me to full during battles that followed. Archie himself was not too hard to take down with this method. Once Team Aqua retreated, I headed south to Lava Ridge without fighting any trainers en route. In the gym itself, I took out Battle Girl Sadie, failed in the fight against Ace Trainer Zane, then spent 2 full tries attempting to get past Kindler Andy before finally dodging everyone else and reaching Flannery. Slugma folded like an omelet with Rock Tomb, but Torkoal came out next, using Overheat to one-shot Yokai-chan. I brought in the secondary Mawile to revive Yokai-chan, and then brought it back in. Torkoal set up the sun when I misclicked using a soda pop on the wrong line. I then barely tanked the hit from Torkoal, so I was able to outlast the overheat spam from Torkoal. Once the overheat ran out, I finally started throwing out Rock Tombs and Fairy Winds. Finally, I used my Dire Hit to safely land 2 crit Rock Tombs to knock it out. Numble hit the field afterward, and then instantly fell to another crit rock tomb. Badge 4, Destined. Kinda. I should not have won this fight. As for the next objective, Dad said that I needed 4 badges to challenge him, so I had to backtrack to Petalburg. Thankfully, May met us out front of Lava Ridge Town and created a nice quick travel option, so I immediately headed for his gym. Okay, immediately no, but I dropped off an egg at the Pokemon Center storage system and then took on the gym. Norman was no pushover, but it was a lot easier than I would have expected. For the first slacking, just fake tears until his special defense is really low, and then take it out with Fairy Wind. Whenever slacking uses Yawn, just switch out for the untrained Mawile, then switch back to Yokai-chan. Next was Vigoroth, who kept using Encore and forcing me to use Fairy Wind. Luckily, it couldn't hit me very hard, so I took it down swiftly. Finally, the last slacking didn't have either Yawn or Encore, so just wail on it until it faints. By the time I finished the match, I had nearly exhausted my power points, but had managed to win without a single fainted Mon. Badge 5, earned. Before leaving Petalburg, Wally's father met the two of us outside of Petalburg Gym to give me the HM for Surf. Naturally, Fodder can learn it and is back on the team. Side note, Fodder is what I nicknamed the Mudkip to. This is only for the reason that I plan on never using it in a fight. On Route 118, Latios picked up Steven Stone and me and took us to Southern Island, where Team Aqua Matt was trying to take Latios and its Megastone. Fortunately, the Latios defense fight wasn't too challenging. It is here where Steven gave me the Mega Bracelet, which is much more favorable for my run, and the Latios joined with its Megastone. It'll keep the PC box warm. I headed out to Berry Master's house on Route 123, where he gives the player 2 random berries chosen from a list of 10, with the 6 stat berries being among them. The day I recorded, he handed me a Kelpsy berry and a Tomato berry, the stat berries, yes! For attack and speed respectively. No! I decided that this would be a great place to pause the actual progress for the day, but I checked back in each day this week to see what berries he gave me and what that could do for my stats. Across the following week, I managed to get enough berries to reset my defense, special defense, and special attack stat gains. I reset these on the next recording day and hopped into the super training again to ensure that I had the right amount of EVs for Mawile, starting with HP and then rolling the rest into speed. So starting off session 5, I did just that. After the super training was completed, I left the route to get some items I thought might be important, mainly TMs. On the fiery path, I was able to get the TM for Toxic now that I can use Strength. I headed south to Lava Ridge Town, which gave me the chance to grab a TM for Sword Stance from the Black Belt outside of the Pokemart. A quick trip to Mawile allowed me to purchase the TMs for Facade, Charge Beam, and Power Up Punch, which I forgot to pick up for the Norman fight. I was itching to get the TM for Taunt, which was in the Trickmaster house after clearing the first puzzle. However, I had to grab a Mon to learn Cut, since A, it's the required HM for the first puzzle, and B, neither Mudkip nor Mawile can learn it. I am not teaching it to Latios! Outside of Oldale Town on Route 103, I picked up a Zigzagoon and named it Cut, since that's all I planned to use it for. Once done, I headed back to the Trickmaster's house on Route 110. With all of the necessary HM moves already in my possession, I did a quick blitz through the entire dojo. This granted me the TM for Taunt, an Expert Belt, a Hard Stone, the TM for Trick Room, which is useless in this run, a Smoke Ball, a Magnet, and a Blue Tint, again useless for this run, and various items in the mazes, including 2 Lava Cookies, 2 Rage Candy Bars, 2 Lumiose Galettes, 2 Castilia Cones, 2 Old Gâteaux, and 2 Chaleur Sablés. Unfortunately, I was not diligent enough and missed that the big nugget that you could pick up from the final puzzle was in the prize room. So I foolishly left and missed out on one of the only missable items in the entirety of the run. Thankfully, it's only a monetary loss, not a utilitarian loss, so I'm glad it wasn't too big of a dent in my run. Afterward, I returned to Route 118 and began the trek north to Route 119. I say began because upon reaching and clearing through the Weather Institute, I realized I had to stop my progress here. Admin Shelly was a pushover, with her only Mon being a Sharpedo, so the only thing to worry about was dropping off the cast form in the box. Session 5 ends here with a lot less done than most people would expect. but I would still argue that the Trickmaster House was worth the extra time spent. Between Session 5 and 6, I realized that I completely missed where the move tutor was. In Fall Arbor! I could have used moves from it since Badge 4! If I wanted to use the better Fairy and Steel-type moves from the move tutor, I would have to backtrack all the way through Route 119, Route 118, Mawile City, Route 111 South, Route 112 South, the Fiery Path, Route 112 North, Route 111 North, Route 113, and then retrack all of that again. Either that, or I could catch a nearby Tropius, box Latios, and go back after getting the 4-tree gym badge, which is 3 required battles ahead and allowed me to use Fly outside of battles. Yeah, I decided to do that instead. Speaking of Fly, May joined us just east of the Weather Institute and battled me. After her inevitable demise, she handed me the HM for Fly, giving me the item I needed to make the situation a lot easier. I also ran into the grass and nabbed Tropius named Soren, so that I could teach it Fly and a few other HM moves to save fodder the extra back pain. I passed through 4-tree onto Route 120 and got the Devon Scope from Steven, and ran back to the gym, picked up the TM for Grassknot, and entered the gym properly to attempt the next challenge. Winona was an easier fight than I anticipated. After Mega Evolving Yokai-chan for the first time, Iron Defense helped boost my defense to +2, Sword Stance to +2, and then the sweep began. Rock Tomb one-shot Swellow and Altaria. Skarmory avoided Rock Tomb at first, but then went down the following turn. Finally, her Pelipper hit the field, protected on the first turn, then went down to Rock Tomb on the next. Overall, I didn't even go below 50%, and I went in with damage taken as well. Badge 6 finished, finally. Now that it was completely free from my prior mistake, I flew back to Fall Arbor, taught Yokai-chan the level 1 reminder moves of Iron Head and Play Rough. Despite this being the only physical fairy move that Mawile can learn, it's also the next 2 moves that we were going to learn anyway. However, if I had remembered that this was here, I could have had a much easier time on badges 4 and 5. Regardless, I flew back to 4-tree and continued my journey. Not remembering the order, I rushed down to Lily Cove, then battled May outside of the Lily Cove department store stairway. I checked before fighting her, and she doesn't have a Mega Evolution on her team. So to make it more fair, I didn't Mega Evolve Yokai-chan. Iron Head one-shot her Swellow, leading Macargo to take the field. I used Iron Head, but it didn't do more than half of its own HP. It took 3 total hits to knock it out. Wailord came out next, and it survived a Play Rough with about 30% HP. Crunch finished it off after that. Sceptile hit the field next, so I used Iron Head on it 3 times. It was only after the fight that I realized that I couldn't fight Team Aqua in their hideout because I hadn't done the Mount Pyre storyline. Nothing to note about Mount Pyre itself, but I rushed through it and then returned to Lily Cove to head into the hideout. The run through the hideout itself was mainly uneventful, at least until the last room. Upon reaching the last segment of Team Aqua's hideout, the Horde battle became frustrating beyond unbearable. First of all, no, I did not struggle with it due to levels. Second, no, I did not struggle due to lowered attack power. Not only does Poochyena not have Intimidate, but Yokai-chan also has the Hypercutter ability, so that couldn't happen anyway. Because there are 5 Pokemon in this fight, I decided to Mega Evolve Yokai-chan and one-shot them with Iron Head. However, there was a factor that made this fight absolutely deplorable. The move Roar. Roar, for the uninformed, is a status move that forces the opponent to switch out in trainer battles. Because I need my HM users in order to reach the Team Aqua hideout in the first place, and I need snaps in the party in case I need to do a double battle, I wound up with not 1, not 2, but 3 different Mons that could be called out whenever they use Roar. Which was, on average, every turn, sometimes up to 3 times per turn. My strategy went south fast, so I had to improvise. By switching in fodder and then spamming the move Double Team, I was able to continuously perform an evasion raise on Marsh Tom, which eventually made sure they would either miss me, deal the same amount of damage to me, or get down to their last few power points and roar me out of the battle, hopefully to someone else. The second of those results happened, and fodder finally went down. Side note, not a single Poochyena missed when they used Bite against any of my mons, especially Fodder. This allowed me to bring in Yokai-chan again and take out a second one. They then proceeded to roar out Yokai-chan, bring in Soren, then roar out Soren for Snaps, then roar out Snaps for Yokai-chan. Come on. Yes! From there I took down the third, then Snaps was roared in. From there I tried buffing her up with Iron Defense and dropping the Poochyena's evasion with Sweet Scent. On the second turn, Roar sent Yokai-chan back in, which allowed me to take out the fourth Poochyena. And then the final one used Roar again to break in Snaps. I then raised Snaps' Iron Defense up to +6, and eventually I was able to baton pass back to Yokai-chan and finish the fight with a final Iron Head. Was this doable? Yes! Did I enjoy it? No! Right after that, I was able to sweep Matt without any trouble. Archie fled in the submarine, and that ended the last thing that I did in the Team Aqua hideout. With Team Aqua's base cleared away, I can now head off to Moss Deep for the 7th gym badge. Taytonlice's gym puzzle, if you pay attention to the layout, can be cleared without battling a single Pokemon. Upon reaching them, our battle commenced for the third fight with Mega Mawile. Turn 1, Yokai-chan used Taunt on Lunatone. It knew Hypnosis, and I was not about to deal with Sleepy Time Curry. Soul Rock summoned the sun, so that was Yokai-chan's target with Iron Head. Lunatone then immediately went down to Iron Head on turn 3. With that, Yokai-chan had done all of the damage in the battle, which saved the run. Badge 7 gained. With the Moss Deep badge down, a beam shot out of Route 128, making this our next objective. Steven Stone was there in town with us, and he offered us the HM for Dive along with the Devon Scuba gear in order to go down into the depths. However, I had already been on for 2 hours, so I wrapped up here and saved the actual legendary story for Session 7. Starting off that 7th day, I headed south to the Seafloor Cavern, which wound up being a lot more confusing to enter than I thought. I'm sorry, but the beam came out of this hole in the route. Why do I have to dive outside the ring and then move into the ring and then resurface? It makes very little sense to me. The Seafloor Cavern wasn't too hard to navigate, but I needed to ensure I picked up a few items along the way. Upon reaching the depths, Archie took me on. His team was almost stress-free, considering that there wasn't anything that could withstand the huge power onslaught. If it wasn't super effective, the neutral hit was strong enough to OHKO. Archie's Mega Anchor is what it said. Oh my gosh, that's great. Because this Mega Stone is in the anchor. How are you faster than me? Well, you're dead, so I'll take that. After Archie fell, he went ahead and awakened Kyogre, summoning the Eternal Rain of Primordial Sea, which I learned will extend into the encounters on the routes. Nice touch, Game Freak. After making my way to Sootopolis, I went ahead and made my way deep into the Cave of Origin. Upon reaching the deepest depths of the cave, Kyogre leads me into an alcove at the deepest depths and glitches out my Pokénav. How has nobody talked about this little bit of storytelling? It's such a small detail, but I love how fitting it is for this part of the story. The Primal Kyogre fight is not without its problems, but most people can just catch it with their Master Ball and be done with it. I, on the other hand, want to defeat it instead of capture it, with a different Pokemon in my sights for the Master Ball. If I knock it out in this fight, I can go back to try and capture it after fighting the Pokemon League. For those who are uninformed about how the legendary encounters work, before Generation 4, if you wanted to catch a legendary, you had one chance. If you knock it out, that's it. Following Pokemon Platinum, all legendary encounters respawn when you enter the Hall of Fame again after defeating the legendary. Regardless, Kyogre performs its Premolar version, and we begin the fight. Defeating this took 3 attempts. Round 1, Body Slam paralyzed me while I was trying to set up, then Origin Pulse KO'd me. Round 2, the first Body Slam paralyzed me, then it KO'd me with Origin Pulse. Round 3, I focused on offense first, landing Play Rough and dealing almost enough to knock out Kyogre. It proceeded to paralyze me with Body Slam, so I used Fodder to tank 2 more Body Slams in order to heal off the paralysis from Yokai-chan. With him back on the field, my next Play Rough knocked it out. With Kyogre defeated, only one thing remained for me to do here in Sootopolis. Well, okay, there's a couple smaller things, but one big thing. The gym. Wallace started off with Love Disc, who knows Sweet Kiss, and nails one against me, confusing me. On the turn I heal it off, Love Disc hits me with a Water Pulse and confuses me again! Turn 3 was a repeat of turn 2, but this time not getting confused by Water Pulse. I then proceeded to sweep through Love Disc and Whiskash with Play Rough, and Milotic came out next, and Crunch barely didn't KO. I took a lot of damage from Hydro Pump, but due to healing via potions, I was able to take out Milotic with 2 more crunches. When Celio came out, this is when I healed up and tanked the waterfall. Iron Head knocked it out thanks to neutral damage. Finally, the Sea King was the only one left, falling to Crunch. Badge 8, honored. With a surprise gift of the HM for Waterfall to go with it. Before leaving Sutopolis, I visited the Black Belt in the northwestmost house in the city, where I was given the TM for Brick Break, the best addition to my TM list since Taunt. Following the tutorial to fodder on how to scale waterfalls, I flew to Moss Deep and began the surf southward to Evergrande Isle. It's not much of a city, even if you include the Elite Four building. It took me a while to correct my course, but I finally managed to make my way to the Victory Road. It took me a bit to navigate, but nothing special of note this time. After making my way through the Victory Road, Wally stood in my way of success. My Mega Evolved Yokai-chan took down his Altaria with Play Rough. Magneton lived the crunch on it, and then used Tri-Attack, which froze me! I stayed frozen that following turn, then took a Flash Cannon head-on, lowering my special defense. After using a full restore, I managed to take out the Magneton. Roselia came out next, so I switched it to Snaps. I used a Lemonade to restore Yokai-chan, while Snaps took a series of Petal Blizzards. Once healed, I used Iron Defense on Snaps until it was at +6 defense, then used Baton Pass to bring back Yokai-chan. Roselia then went down to Iron Head, Delcatty to Crunch, and all that was left was Gallade. Play Rough hit on the turn it Mega Evolved and knocked it out in one hit. Wally's final team in the main story is done. Before heading to the Elite Four, I stocked up on healing items for use in battle. I also deposited everyone except for Yokai-chan into the PC system. Little did I know how unprepared I was for the madness of the Hoenn Elite Four run from hell. Never have I been so mad at a Pokemon challenge in my life. Starting off at the beginning, Sydney threw out Mightyena, which should be a quick sweep through all 5 monsters with Play Rough. However, Play Rough missed 5 times across the 10 times I used it. It's a 90% accurate move. It acted as if it was a 50% accurate move. Still, I managed to get through it after healing off dangerous hits and debilitating status effects. Elite Four, Sydney, smashed. Before heading into Phoebe's fight, I realized that Taunt wasn't necessary for the rest of the Elite Four, so I taught Brick Break to Yokai-chan instead of Taunt. I also used an Ether I had to restore Play Rough to full power points. Funnily enough, nothing Phoebe had was A, able to withstand a single hit, or B, faster than me. Dusclops, crunch. Dusknoir, crunch. The bundle of creepy Manettes, crunch. Sableye, on the other hand, used Fake Out on turn 5, so I had to wait until the next turn to knock it out with Play Rough. Elite Four Phoebe, flattened. Next was Glacia, who immediately took an Iron Head to her Glalie for the first OHKO. Walrein came out next, but Brick Break was also able to OHKO. Frostlass came out next, and I used Iron Head, but Frostlass was faster and set up Hail. For those uninformed, Frostlass has the ability Snow Cloak, which makes his evasion rate slightly higher when it's under Hail. I missed the first Iron Head, but nailed the second one after tanking a Shadow Ball. The second Frostlass came out and used Confuse Ray on me, but thankfully, Yokai-chan hit through it and OHKO'd. Finally, the second Glalie came out, and the confusion caused me so much grief. Glalie protected, then Yokai-chan hit itself in confusion and take the Freeze Dry. I healed with a Lemonade. Glalie failed to protect. Then Yokai-chan hit itself in confusion while Glalie reset the Hail. Confusion wore off. Glalie protected. And then finally, after 6 turns, I was able to Brick Break the Glalie and OHKO it. Elite Four Glacia, gone. That Glalie. Drake was right back into play rough shenanigans, though not as bad as Sydney. Altaria was OHKO'd on turn 1, the Earthquake Flygon on turn 2, but I missed on turn 3 and took a Flamethrower from the second Flygon. Kingdra came out in turn 5, so I used the chance to heal up with a Lemonade. Bad idea. It used Yawn, meaning I had a turn before I went to sleep. I used Play Rough to get it off the field, bringing in Salamence on the turn I fell asleep. I used the last Lava Cookie in my bag to heal off the sleep. And Salamence started going for Thunderfang. The first one didn't do too much, so I didn't worry too much. The second one flinched me. The third one paralyzed me and caused me to fail my turn. I used a full restore because I refused to deal with para-flinching f***ery. Number 5 flinched me, and after a 6th Thunderfang, I managed to finally not get flinched or paralyzed. Elite 4 Drake, done. Then the Champion Steven Stone fight. Skarmory, while tough to handle, eventually went down to Crunch and Brick Break. Aggron was almost one-shot by Brick Break, but Yokai-chan survived the Brick Break and managed to take it out on the following turn. While I got a huge scare with Claydol when I tried to heal up, I managed to take it out with Crunch. Armaldo had nothing that was super effective against me, so I used a turn to fully heal up and take it out on the following turn with Ironhead. Cradily was handled easily by Ironhead, so all that was left was Metagross. Stevens, Metagross Mega Evolves. I move first and land the Crunch, but it lives. It lands its attack Meteor Mash and lands a critical hit.
No! I was so close!
Literally the last possible chance for Steven to crit me, and he does it. I lost. I had to do it all over again. So to make things easier for the rematch, I went and bought 4 X accuracies and an X attack, hoping that it would make things easier. I taught Taunt back to Yokai-chan over Brick Break for the Sydney rematch, so that I could deal with Mightyena if it tried to use Swagger. Sydney was a lot smoother this time, with a turn 1 Taunt to prevent Swagger, turn 2 X accuracy, and a failed Sucker Punch for Mightyena, and turn 3 Play Rough. From then on, I just used Play Rough for a clean sweep of his team. Phoebe went the exact same, but I used the X accuracy on turn 5 when Sableye used Fake Out. I mean, Shadow Claw? Why did it do that? Anyway, turn 6 Play Rough to kill the final mon. Glacia went a little smoother this time with the same first 2 turns as the first time. With Frostlass out now, I used an X accuracy to hopefully mitigate the hail, but she used Shadow Ball instead. From there, Ironhead knocked out both Frostlass and the second Glalie. Drake was a far different story than last time. I used the X accuracy on Yokai-chan while Altaria set up a Cotton Guard. From there, Play Rough took out the Altaria on turn 2, the Flygons on turn 3 and 4, Kingdra on turn 5, and Salamence on turn 6, thanks to now being faster than him. And we returned to the fight with Steven. X attack on turn 1 allowed me to boost my attack, but I took a critical hit from Steel Wing in the process. Upon Mega Evolving, I used Crunch to bring Skarmory down to yellow, while his Steel Wing did the same to me. On the turn that Steven healed Skarmory, I used Brick Break and did the same amount of damage to Skarmory. He didn't heal a second time though, and so I knocked it out the following turn. Aggron came out next, and true to what happened last time, I forgot Aggron had Sturdy, and hit it with Brick Break to bring it to 1 HP. Its Earthquake scared me again, leaving me in single-digit health. I healed up and finally knocked it out on the next turn. Claydol fell instantly to Crunch this time, Armaldo went down to Ironhead on its first turn, and Cradily fell as well. Then comes out Metagross. Then Mega Evolves, I land the Crunch, and I finally managed to one-hit KO it. Champion Steven slashed. Something I find funny is the way I placed Mawile's Pokeball into the machine. That's sad. A single Dusk Ball being placed into the machine is so funny to me. After this, the credits rolled, which showed off what battles I was able to Mega Evolve Mawile for, including the dual Mawile usage in Tate and Liza's fight. Following the scroll through Hoenn, I swept through May's battle against me post-credits. After booting up the game to get the story cutscenes out of the way, I saved my progress for the session. Session 8 began the proper start to the Delta episode, which I intended to complete using the rules of this challenge. The main battles of this storyline are the first battle with Matt, the first Zinnia fight, the Moss Deep Horde battle, the double battle against Matt and his grunt, and the events at the Sky Pillar. I won't be going over all of them, but we'll touch on the Horde battle and the Sky Pillar events. Alrighty, round 2. We have quite the Horde battle ahead of us. Not only are there 5 Mightyena instead of Poochyena, they're all level 25? I'm sorry, but I faced the Elite 4. Take me seriously at least. Intimidate from Mightyena didn't work due to Hypercutter in Yokai-chan's base form. Snarl, though spammed, does pitiful damage and lowers an unused stat, and Assurance did pitiful damage as well. I think these were programmed to only have these 2 moves, because otherwise they would have definitely used Roar shenanigans. Anyway, 5 turns of Brick Break was all it took to win. Also, the double battle with Steven against Matt and the Aqua Grunt was pitifully easy, so our next objective will be Wallace at the Sky Pillar. Wallace has a different team than his gym team, this time using his champion team for Pokemon Emerald, and no Mega Evolution, so I decided to leave Yokai-chan in its base form. He starts with Wailord, but thanks to the level gap, Play Rough OHKO'd it. Next was Whiscash, who tanks a Brick Break, sets up the rain, and then falls to a second Brick Break. Milotic tanks a Crunch, but I get the defense drop. Milotic's Hydro Pump drops me to red HP, but the next Crunch takes it down. Ludicolo comes out on the turn I healed Yokai-chan to full, and Scald drops me to half health. The rain lifts here, so the next Scald only deals about 73 HP. I then take it out of the way with Play Rough. Gyarados hits the field, tanks a Crunch, and does about half of my remaining health with Waterfall, but falls to a second Crunch on the following turn. Tentacruel then hits the field and sets up the rain while I heal up Yokai-chan. I manage to deal over half its health with Crunch, and Brian deals less than half of my health, so I knock it out on the next turn and win the fight. Up at the peak of Sky Pillar, Rayquaza gets summoned and swallows the meteorite I got back at Mount Chimney. Because I have to catch Rayquaza, I just chucked my Master Ball at it to get it out of the way. Is what I would love to say, but I'm ignoring my own prior advice and taking the time to attempt the Rayquaza catch more legitimately. Turn 1, Quick Ball, which fails. Rayquaza then flew into the air and KO'd Soren, who has swapped in to take the hit from it. Yokai-chan then used Brick Break to do pitiful damage to Rayquaza. Fodder comes in to tank another Fly and falls. Yokai-chan then hits an Iron Head, leaving Ray at about 60% health. It tanked a Fly, so I managed to hit Iron Head the following turn. I swapped in Snaps, hoping to Iron Defense a Baton Pass, but it was faster and one-shot Snaps with Fly. Yokai-chan is all that was left. Rayquaza was in yellow HP at this point, so I used one last Brick Break to bring him into red HP. I threw out the Ultra Ball and caught him on the first one. After this, Zinnia immediately challenges us to a battle. I then swapped in Soren because Rayquaza was not going to be used in this fight. Yokai-chan hit the field when Soren died, Mega Evolved, and proceeded to OHKO Goodra with Play Rough after missing it on the first turn. Tyrantrum hit the field, so Iron Head OHKO'd it. Next was her Altaria, who fell to Play Rough. Norvern flew out next, which was faster than me and hit me with Shadow Ball, but the Iron Head was enough to knock it out without too much problem. Finally, her Salamence hit the field. I then swapped to Fodder to reset the Intimidate on the Salamence, healed up Yokai-chan, and then restored PP to Play Rough. Once Fodder finally fell, Snaps came out, but fell to Fire Fang, leaving Yokai-chan to hit the field. I took a critical hit from Fire Fang, and then Play Rough managed to knock it out. Zinnia was zeroed out. And our final mission for the Delta episode, defeating Deoxys. Yes, this does mean I have to ignore using Rayquaza, but it also means that I have to be able to take it down with Yokai-chan alone. Unfortunately, for my own purposes, they force Mega Rayquaza onto you for this fight. So I was forced to sack Soren to bring in Yokai-chan safely. Psycho Boost dropped Deoxys' special attack, so I brought in Fodder, throwing a regular Pokeball to waste a turn. It used Hyper Beam and Fodder lived it. I was able to throw a few more Pokeballs to waste turns. Deoxys finally decided to use Hyper Beam again, giving me the chance to bring in Snaps safely. I used Iron Defense to raise Snap's defense. Hyper Beam didn't kill, so I managed to get defense up to +4 and baton past the Yokai-chan. With it on the field safely, I went for Crunch, dealing about half of its health and dropping its defense stat. It used Cosmic Power to reset the stat drop, but Yokai-chan knocked it out with Crunch to finish out the end of the Delta episode. Our penultimate task is to rematch the Hoenn Pokemon League. Yes, I'd already beaten them beforehand, but now it's a new type of fight. All 4 members of the Elite Four have 6 total Pokemon, including a Mega Evolution, and no duplicate species this time. Even Champion Steven gets a different team, so it's not the same fight we once had against him. And beyond that, the levels for each Pokemon have hit the 70s, with Steven's Metagross hitting level 79. Once this challenge was over, I would have finished everything that a solo run of Mawile could ever accomplish, all without doing the legendary catching runs, which I will consider attempting another time. I failed the first attempt, but I saved outside of the Elite Four, so my second attempt was successful. I won't show everything since we're running low on time, but on screen right now is my fight against Drake, where I fell against his Mega Salamence, and the second encounter with Steven's Metagross.
A fool out of myself. Don't paralyze, don't flinch me. It crit me.
I hate this region with a fiery passion. I am exactly 1 level higher than Metagross now. The last Mon of the run is here. Time to crunch. Mega Metagross evolving from Mega Metagross evolving from the Mega Stick Pin. I go first. Kill. Yes! Yes! And with that, 2 full runs on the Elite Four, using only Mawile. And with entering the Hall of Fame a second time, I decided to correct one last infraction that this game imposed on me, defeating Deoxys with Mega Mawile. Did I need to do this? No. But I hated that the game forced me to use my Mega on Rayquaza without consent. Here's the fight at the peak. Huh? I've never seen this before. You can battle it at the top of the Sky Pillar. Well, I'm getting some catharsis in here. I've saved before this. I'll go back and catch it in my own time, but I want to get some beefy hits on this guy. One big crunch for old time's sakes. Mawile, take it down. That is satisfying for me. For not being able to use it in the original fight, screw you. And with that, Yokai-chan has completely cleared Alpha Sapphire, along with the Delta episode and the Elite Four rematch. Total deaths? 7. Huh. I'm kind of impressed that out of all the battles I faced, I only felt 7 total trainers. Raleigh, May on Route 110, Watson, Ace Trainer Zane, Kindler Andy the first time, Steven Stone the first time, and the rematch with Drake. Huh. This honestly was kind of fun, and I'd be all for playing through another challenge like this for a Mega Ruby file if I inevitably have to run through it again. Although, next time, I believe a what-if scenario might be more enjoyable to look into. Stay tuned for that. In terms of updates, I started streaming on Twitch again, and I've moved the archived live streams to a new channel, which will be linked in the description below. Speaking of Twitch streams, I recently got access to monetization over there, so I'll be doing as many streams as I can to kick back with viewers and do some shiny hunting. Here on YouTube, I've also added a few shorts on this game to try and reach out a bit more beyond just the videos I upload here on YouTube or streams on Twitch. As for what I could recommend, I'd like to remind you that I did a playthrough of Pokemon Violet using only Infernape. Check that out if you haven't seen it already. Thank you all for watching, and as always, remember to try something new. You'll never know what you like until you try it.